Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. You can also find yourself trying to understand what's going on August 15th because the promotions seem to have changed. Now, this right here is Claressa Shields and K. Scott. That's the main event. But what happened to Siki and Big Lex being the co-main? Now what he looked like you have is a traditional fight card. You know, you got 4 fights that are going to be taking place before Claressa and Scott, all airing on DAZN. But what happened to Zeus? What happened to the baddies? Something went left here. Now I don't know what happened. I'm not going to pretend to act like I know. I'm not going to do that to y'all. But what I can tell you is I'm not seeing any more promotion as far as Zeus being attached to this fight card. Now, are they still fighting? Maybe, maybe not. But what I will tell you is, you know, this whole thing about August 15th had a lot of traditional boxing fans who wanted to attend, had them scared. And that's just the reality. So the discussion surrounding this fight date and Big Vote and the whole main event, it's more than just talking about them, man. You see, there are a lot of fans who they're gonna welcome the idea of a mixed boxing event with the spectacle. You know, some people want entertainment. Some people say, look, just give me the traditional presentation. But the thing is, if you want to incorporate spectacle, you can't bring the kind of spectacle that's going to possibly attract chaos. You know what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of fans are saying the promoters should just stay traditional, or if you want to broaden the audience through crossover entertainment, you know, at least make sure it's something where fans will feel safe. Because you got hardcore boxing fans, and then you have an audience who's cool with some entertainment, but they don't want the drama. Now you see with Claressa Shields, look, she's kind of gone down the baddies path. That's why a lot of us, we were kind of shocked to see that Zeus Network was initially attached to the card. But then when most people started thinking about it and we started having conversations, they were like, well, this is the direction it seems that Win Records is taking Claressa Shields, a direction to be a baddie and go to Zeus and possibly fight one of the baddies next. And she's getting away from traditional boxing. And they felt that that would hurt her long-term marketability, which doesn't seem to be all that great at the moment because of her attitude. But I just think this thing about being a villain, you can go too far. You know, there's nothing wrong with having an outspoken personality. And we know Claressa has that. Because when you're outspoken, you can generate headlines. You can increase social media engagement. You can build anticipation for your fights. But there's a point where controversy begins to distract from the competition itself. And that's what has happened with Claressa Shields. So finding the balance between promotion and professionalism is very difficult for any athlete. And maybe that's what the promoters are trying to do. Balance promotion, balance professionalism, but also right now saying, shit, in question whether they really need Zeus, whether they really need the baddies, because it's either going to be a grand slam or it's not. But the thing is, they can't afford to miss that. They can't afford to have an event where now during fight week, people are fighting at gas stations and hotels, in the lobby, possibly someone getting shot, because the fans are fanatics. So maybe they're saying we don't want that crowd. Now I don't know what's happened, but I do find it odd that no one's talking about the baddies anymore. The Zeus folks being on the attached to the event. So has the fight card evolved? I don't know. But we're all sitting back and, you know, noting that the recent promotional announcements appear to place greater emphasis on boxing matches themselves that include the additional fighters that seem to have been added instead of on baddies. Before, everything was baddies, Orlando, Ray J, Zeus. That was it. Now everything is going back to the additional fighters who've been added in a traditional fight card. Now, there's no official statements from any promoter explaining what's going on behind the scenes, whether Zeus is still going to be attached to the promotion. I don't know what's going on. It's impossible for me to know if any changes have occurred. I'm just sitting back observing like you all, and I truly believe the promotions changed. You know, you got to figure. We've been talking on the lives. You got Zeus Network here. You got the Zone, right? You got two different networks. So how are they going to have the fight card? Let's say you have a Zeus match, then you have a DAZN match, right? The Zeus fight goes first, that airs on their network. Then the DAZN fighter goes, that airs on DAZN. But let's say you have a Zeus fight after that, then a DAZN fight. So now there's going to be some long intermission as far as the people who have DAZN watching on TV, waiting for the next fight to air on DAZN, because they got to wait for the people from the Zeus folks to do their shit. So to us, it didn't make sense, because you're kind of checkerboarding fights and have one match on one network, then the next network has to wait till they have their match, instead of just having all the matches back to back air on one network. That way the fan at home is watching and seeing they don't have these intermissions. So maybe they couldn't resolve that. I don't know. But I just tell you, it seems right now that at some point in time, I think an official statement is going to be released, if that's the case. There's nothing uncommon about promoters frequently adjusting fight cards. They do it for a lot of reasons, man. Logistics, competitive balance, broadcast needs, audience interest, fighter falls out, all kind of crap. But this whole thing about the traditional versus the crossover event that they were trying to put together, look, you got to understand the audience expectation. People want to be entertained, but they don't want to feel like their life's in danger. And that is the vibe that I got off of most of the people who are talking about it. You know what I'm saying? They're like, look, we're cool with the crossover entertainment, even though we'd rather just come and watch a traditional boxing event. But the atmosphere, it's the atmosphere, Hood. What kind of atmosphere do you think it's going to be? I'm like, well, I don't know much about Baddies and Zeus. Well, I didn't know. Now I know a little bit. And from what I see, it's all about fighting, violence, and chaos and drama. So, why would anybody want to go out there? Especially someone who may have just, overlooked Claressa saying that people are broke and people are bums, and calling people old, especially when a lot of those folks are the ones that were willing to spend their money to come see her, especially the old aunties and shit. They're the ones that were willing to spend their money to come see her. So you come in, you insult and offend those people. So most of them ain't coming out. But for those who said, you know what, I'm still going to come out and see her, now you're having this spectacle type event. They're like, hell no, I ain't going out there. Because they don't feel safe because of the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? The environment and the atmosphere has got to appeal to the audience. If I purchase a ticket, just like you got to think about more than the fight, especially something like this. The overall experience, convenience, level of comfort, and whether the event matches the atmosphere that you're looking for. When you go to these places and alcohol get in the mix, there's always some kind of little bullshit. But you don't want to go there where 9 times out of 10, there's probably going to be some drama just because of the pattern. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you, a lot of these people who follow this baddie stuff, there's nothing wrong. Look, people can do what they want, make their money, it's entertainment. I get it. But I'm just telling you, a lot of the people who are attracted to that, they're going to bring drama. And Claressa even said, be naked and with diamonds. So, again, I made jokes about it. You come in and catch a ringworm and shit. So maybe overall, those key decision makers behind the scenes said this going in a direction that we don't want. We don't want the audience that we're targeting. This ain't it. Yeah, we want to sell tickets. We want to make money. But this is going way left. It's not what we want. And maybe the Ray J and Orlando Brown back and forth had something to do with it, because that's some shit a lot of people ain't never seen in their life. The way them boys were talking and acting. So I wonder, or I would like to ask the bigger marketing question. Because we're not just talking about modern boxing, you know what I mean? There's a broader question here about this event. Should promoters chase viral attention? And this is where Win Records and Pat Pulse, I don't see them as promoters. And I would hope they don't see themselves as boxing promoters. Because if you're out here chasing viral attention as a boxing promoter, well, then you have a weak product. You know what I'm saying? You want to present the strongest possible boxing product. Going out here chasing viral attention with all the drama and nonsense and outside the ring chaos, that would never work in the sport of boxing. And look, that's just my opinion, but I believe if you talk to most people who are diehard boxing fans and boxing promoters, they'll tell you. You'll get some short-lived success, you'll get some short-lived attention, but at the end of the day, you turn people off. You know what I mean? You will turn people off. So different promoters take different approaches. I'm just telling you, fans ultimately decide which events they want to support. And when you look at this event and all the drama that was potentially that was surrounding it, and all the drama that many fans anticipated was going to happen come fight week in the day of the event, and then you sit there and think about Claressa and her path to destruction. You know what I mean? Pushing Franchon, slapping AB, talking about I'm a killer. All this shit that she's done. When you bring those two worlds together, you're gonna get a disaster. Now, was I rooting for the event to be a success? No. Was I rooting for it to fail? No. Because I don't care. But it's very entertaining to me. The whole shit is entertaining, it's interesting. And I'm watching this and I'm like, yo, this shit is really falling apart. You know what I'm saying? How does that happen? And I would like to know what happened behind the scenes. I would like to know. Because I'm not seeing anything from anyone. I know Ray. One thing I do know, I saw some clip where what's his name, the Zeus folks, what's his name, Lemmy. Looked like he said he's not going. He did like a little short video. They're not going to Colombia. They're going to Mexico. So the way I took that as he's doing something other than bringing his women to fight on August 15th. Now, I could be wrong because I don't follow it, but that did catch my attention because I was like, who's he taking over there to Mexico? Or is he going there to audition for new women? See, I don't know what he's doing. But if that's gonna happen around the same time as August 15th, remember, like I'm telling you, I don't know. But if it's gonna happen around the same time, that shit can't work. So anyway, hopefully somebody comes out and clears up the confusion because y'all know I don't follow it like that, but even the ladies on the channel who follow it, they're not sure what's going on. Okay? So if you know, leave it in the comments because I just think it's interesting. I just think it's a whole lot of drama, and I think the promotion's changed. And, people want to feel safe. We talked about it before. Could you imagine? Like, this is where those people, man, the voice of reason will be heard. Even if they don't want to be heard, they'll make sure their voice is heard. Could you imagine with Claressa Shields and Demetrius Salita and Papoose and Win Records? Think what you want about them. But if they had this event out there in Atlanta, and all of a sudden, there are these random acts of violence that take place during fight week or around different events, dealing with the promotion and the different fighters and stuff, just any acts of violence, that would all be placed on Big Bro, on Papoose, Win Records, Salita. But Claressa's the bigger name. It's all going to be put on Claressa. So she can't afford to have no bullshit happen. And I will go out on the limb and say this. I don't think she wants anybody to get hurt. I think she wants some drama. She doesn't mind a little bit of shoving with watching them go back and forth. And all she's going to say is, man, please, these people are crazy. But I don't think she wants anything catastrophic to take place. But she can't control people. I know y'all been around the block like me. You can't control people. You know what I'm saying? Or if somebody decide to act a fool, ain't nothing you can do about that. And maybe they realize this could be more than what we can manage. So let's scale back and stick to boxing. They want to have a concert and some rap artists come out. Do it. You know what I'm saying? But they got to come out and make an announcement because I know for a fact there are a lot of people who are not going because they don't want to be caught up in this whole baddies thing. because they're thinking worst case scenario. But if they come out and make an announcement, maybe those ticket sales will kind of spike. You'll see a spike in ticket sales. I don't know. You know what I mean? I ain't got no crystal ball over here. I'm just having a conversation. But anyway, I'm sitting back watching now because I'm curious to see what happens. But if they do make changes, give us an explanation. But if the fight's still happening, but they've throttled back on the promotion, at least come out and say something. But right now, it just seems like everything has died down. I don't know. Maybe that's the calm before the storm. We're gonna find out. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.